100.com. And the reason that I say that is simply because I put out some great stuff today. First of all, Justin Ross, I got messages light on the same thing. What's going on with Justin Ross? Well, I mean, what are you hearing about Justin Ross, Rob? Well, what I hear about Justin Ross, I hadn't heard anything. And it's kind of funny because, you hear, you get stuff all the time of this guy may be going here, this guy may be going there, but I just hadn't heard anything about Justin Ross, to be honest with you. So I'm looking through, and I text a few people that I trust, and they pretty much told me, yeah, it's non-existent. And then all of a sudden this morning, at like 10:45 this morning, it comes out that Justin Ross has, puts out, hey, I'm not transferring from Clemson. It's funny how the transfer portal right now is one of the biggest stories in college football. And there's going to be lots of people that are going to move along. They really are. But Justin Ross, to start the show, is not one of them. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Also, the rich get richer with Alabama getting Tennessee's probably best defensive player. We'll get into that as well. New Baseball America Top 25 rankings, and why tomorrow night's game with Clemson and South Carolina is a big deal. Yes, it certainly is. More of a big deal for the Gamecocks than the Tigers, but the Tigers need that game too. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Tennessee, they made a big move on the COVID front. We'll talk about that. But I got to start with Tim Tebow. Former NFL quarterback and all-world player when he was at Florida, guy who played for the Columbia Fireflies here in Columbia. Tim Tebow has signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars 1 year to play quarterback. I mean, not quarterback, I'm sorry, tight end. So wrap your head around this for a second. It's almost like a whole Ozzy Osbourne mix. I'm coming home. Going down to Florida. I'm going to play for Urban Meyer. It's going to be with Jacksonville and everything else. Look, I'm in the camp of everybody should have an opportunity to try to fulfill their dreams. But Tim Tebow was kind of told from the start, hey, you're not an NFL quarterback. He did win a playoff game in the NFL. I understand that. But the Broncos ended up wasting a first-round draft pick on Tim Tebow. Now, if he would have came into the NFL and it would have been like, hey, you're going to be an H-back, which was the big thing, or a tight end, he probably would have made a team and stuck with it. But now he's trying to re-rally that at 33 years of age. And I tell you what, this is one of those things where Urban Meyer's taking a jump right now with his new team. And if it falls through, he's going to look silly. Now, they did sign him to a 1-year contract. I get that. But on the other hand, this just looks like he's just going with what he knows. And he knows that when he was in college, Tim Tebow was outstanding. Of course, Tebow retired from professional baseball back in February. I don't know how this is going to work out, but if you're a fan of Jacksonville, or do you want Tim Tebow on your team altogether right now? At 33 years old, I know it's a 1-year deal, so there really isn't much there, but trust me, with everything that the Jaguars are going to have, what I mean by that is that they're going to have a ton of coverage simply because of their number 1 overall pick in Trevor Lawrence and the fact that Urban Meyer's there. So now they're bringing more media, more people that are going to jump on is Tim Tebow going to get to play? I mean, is he gonna basically have like the Renaissance man type career where he's gonna be a quarterback one time, then he's gonna play baseball, and then he's gonna come back and play tight end? I mean, I don't know if I want that with my team. But apparently Urban Meyer doesn't care. That's kind of the way that it looks with that. So we'll take calls on that at 803-978-1832. Also, Peter King put out a report this morning. I wrote this up, the gist of it, on my blog page at foxsportsradio1400.com. But from profootballtalk.com, he says there are two teams that could trade for Deshaun Watson. Now, I know that Watson is still dealing with his issues with the sexual allegations that are up against him. But according to King, he thinks that the Eagles and the Carolina Panthers are two teams that could be in the mix for Deshaun Watson. Now step back from this for a second. The Panthers traded away some picks or traded away some stuff to get Sam Darnold. You've said all this great stuff about Sam Darnold. Okay, now I don't know if this is how this is going to work out. I do trust Peter King because he's been on the NFL beat a lot longer than I have. But in the end, what a mess. If you are the Panthers and you trade for Deshaun Watson, what a mess that would turn out to be. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Now, the Eagles, on the other hand, they pretty much ran off Carson Wentz, a guy who's had some success in the league. I think we can say that. And then they run him off. They give the reins to Jalen Hurts. What if you get Watson? What are you going to do with Hurts? I don't get it. I don't get all that. But King thinks that that's going to happen. And I thought we'd take calls today on that as well. Where do you think Deshaun Watson is going to end up? 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the rundown. I got one more thing I want to get in the opening segment here. You know, Medina Spirit won the Kentucky Derby, but is tested positive for a banned substance. Of course, Spirit is owned by Bob Baffert, who is a guy that's won, the Derby like 7 or 8 times. And he had an interesting exchange on Fox News this morning. I wanted to play a bit of that for you because you look at it from this perspective and the way that he said these things, not so much. Check out this comments from Bob Baffert this morning on Fox News.
This isn't something you bury in the diet of the horse. This has to be injected into the joints. It's a steroid, an anti-inflammatory. It would mask essentially the amount of physical exertion the horse is exhibiting on the track and help the horse, him or her, to run faster. But you've had 5 horses from the Baffert barn in the last year to fail a drug test. Now, what would explain that?
But they were all resolved. They were contamination, and we have to fight this. And for some reason, that is the problem right there. And people in the public don't understand. People in my world, they understand this is all BS. And unfortunately, it happened to Bob Baffert's not stupid. That's not a drug that I would use on a horse. We don't use that horse. We don't use that drug. The horse never had it in him. And we have the documentation. We're going to show everything.
I'm laughing because there was one other comment he made that I forgot to pull. My horse is a victim of cancel culture. Can we please slow down for a minute, Mr. Baffert? Look, we all know that if someone can get an advantage, especially in a horse race, I think they're going to try to take advantage of that. Okay? It's just the way that it is. It's not like the horse is going to be able to tell us, hey, they're feeding me the juice, or hey, they're feeding me something that's going to make it where my joints aren't going to hurt and I can run harder. No, the horse can't tell you that. He's not Mr. Ed, for God's sake. Old school reference there, watching Nick at Night when I was a kid. But Bob Baffert is a guy that is horse owner royalty, basically. And when he's asked that simple question, oh, we don't use that. Sir, how did your horse get it into his system? I see that's the thing. Ask that question. And I'm not really mocking the folks on Fox News. I'm just saying that would have been my absolute response back to him. Sir, if you don't use it, how did it end up in his system? And don't tell me it's tainted because you've had 5 horses that have come up with the same thing. And by the way, whoever Baffert's attorney is or person that represents him, he shouldn't be doing anything on TV right now because he looks like a liar. I don't know the first thing about doping when it comes to horse racing. I have no clue. Okay? I know I like to bet a little bit on the Kentucky Derby. I've picked the winner 3 straight times. But in the end, if you've had 5 horses that all have the same supplement in them, then the problem is on you, sir. 5 horses from your barn. I don't get it. But Bob Baffert needs to learn just to shut up a little bit. Just shut up. Okay? Maybe he's not out there and he doesn't know exactly what's going on completely with all of them. And I can understand that. It's not like he's the guy that, it's not like he's in there scooping the horse turds and making sure the horse has the right blend of whatever. He probably comes out and looks at the horses as they do their runs and everything else. I can buy that. But as far as all the rest of that goes, he may have I'm sure he's got a team of vets and everything else, but he may not know exactly what's going on. But in the end, common sense would tell you, if you got 5 horses here lately that have tested positive for this, then something's going on. 803-978-1832. Jerome says people are going to be real mad about Tebow. Zach says, why is an anti-inflammatory even an issue? It's not a performance enhancer. And that's a very valid statement, sir. I did a little bit of research, and apparently it does something with with their joints, and it gives them the ability to run through pain, is what I've read. I don't know. If you are a horse expert and you can help me with that, I would love for you to call and explain to me how this is an advantage or a disadvantage for the people that are running the Kentucky Derby. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Folks are talking about Tim Tebow over in the chat room. People are going to be upset about it. Huffer Billy Paul says, Tebow is God's chosen one. Who can be mad about that? And Jerome says, the atheists and the left. Look, I'm not, I don't care if he has the talent to make the team. I think that's a big deal. If you think that he can make the team, then have at it. All right. And maybe the stars just aligned and he trusts Urban Meyer, and he knows what he's going to get with Urban Meyer. I mean, the guy's played for, he's played he played for the Jets, I think the Patriots and the Broncos. So he's been around the league. Yeah. I don't know how that's going to work out. We shall see. If you want to call up and talk about Tim Tebow, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call. Jimmy says, how about the bookies? Look, they've declared, I think the bookies have already paid out. I don't think they're going to come back and, hey, give us back our money. I don't think that's how that's going to work. But apparently, from what I'm reading here, if the findings are upheld, Medina Spirit's results in the Kentucky Derby will be invalidated and Mandolin will be declared the winner. Wow. What a interesting story that is. And I'm going to put up the video on my blog page of Bob Baffert this morning on Fox News saying it didn't happen, even though the drugs were in 5 horses. What a mess. What an absolute mess. 803-978-1832. By the way, I've got the new Baseball America Top 25. I thought we'd go over that for a second. The Gamecocks picked up a big win yesterday. Why is it a big win? Because it helps in the RPI. And the RPI may keep them in the mix to possibly be able to host a regional. you know what else is going to be there is money. But the new top 25, the SEC dominating up top, man. The 4 of the top 5 are from the SEC. Arkansas at 1, Vanderbilt at 2, Mississippi State at 3. Now, there are a lot of Gamecock fans that are upset with where South Carolina has kind of fallen here lately. But if you look at their series that they've lost, I mean, they lost 2 out of 3 to Arkansas, 2 out of 3 to Mississippi State. Both sit at 1 and 3. And then they lost the series to Ole Miss, which is another good team. They're playing pretty good baseball as well. But 1 through 5, 4 of the 5 are from the SEC. Number 6 is TCU, followed by Texas Tech. Florida's at 9. Your second ACC team of the mix, Louisville's at 11, with Notre Dame at 4, by the way. Florida State's at 13. Ole Miss is at 17. And then you've got South Carolina checks in at 24, according to Baseball America. South Carolina's played some tough teams here. I can promise you this. There are not a lot of teams that want to draw South Carolina. Let's say that South Carolina doesn't host. They're going to be one of the top 2 seeds that's going to go somewhere else, that your fringe host team, they're not going to want to have the Gamecocks in their regional. That's going to be tough for them. But if the Gamecocks can get their stuff together, and we'll talk about the things that are going on with Clemson and why this game tomorrow is important when we come back. John Kosich joins us in a little bit from the Columbia Fireflies, talk about opening day. Yes, we'll get into that in a moment. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. You know, I'm not buying the whole thing about being embarrassed for Clemson. Clemson is, they got swept this weekend, but before that, they won 7 straight. I mean, it's not that far-fetched, man. Clemson's won they were, before going into that series, we'd be talking about a Clemson team that if they didn't get swept, let's say that it had flipped and they swept that 3-game series, they would be 18-12 in conference play. I haven't heard about Ross not getting medically cleared. So Ross did talk. He hasn't. Haven't heard anything about Justin Ross other than what I reported this morning. I think with the Clemson baseball team, though, they've got some players. I don't feel that way about Clemson basketball. I really don't. We don't know about Ross being medically cleared or not. I mean, that's going to be a big deal. Edwin wins with that. He probably just means that the horses didn't inhale. Damn it, Edwin. Yeah, I think the big thing with that, though, is that he has another appointment to get medically cleared. And I don't think that he wants to say anything until he knows for sure. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world in the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. I tell you what, man, a couple of things here that we were talking about in the chat room here. One is about Justin Ross And, he came out today and put out there, hey, it's a slow news day. I'm not transferring. The big thing, though, is that just because he says he's not transferring, we don't know for sure if he's going to play or not. And I'm not trying to throw anything out there that I know anything different. We haven't gotten the all clear from anyone saying, hey, he can return to the field yet. He's expected to be able to return to the field to play. If he is, as it looks right now, he'll be at Clemson. Boy, I think I had 3 or 4 people message me about that last night, but you want to know who was, there was like 3 different sites that were talking about, oh, this is going to happen. And all of them were within the state of Alabama. I tell you what, man, they are big time angry that Dabo Swinney went into there and got Justin Ross out of there. You could it's almost like you could feel it from that website and the comments that were there about it. So we shall see how that works out. Anyway, back to baseball for a quick moment here. This game tomorrow night with South Carolina and Clemson is a big deal because the Gamecocks, it can help the Gamecocks out a little more on the RPI. And for Clemson, if they can get a win, it'll help them as far as their shot to have the opportunity to make the tournament. Now, some Clemson fans are like, hey, man, it's going to be kind of an embarrassment. That's what some people have said about it. Because the Tiger baseball team, I mean, they're 15-15 overall in conference play. Not exactly the best Clemson season. But they have moments where they can play. Let's slow down for a second and look back. Not this past weekend, but the weekend before, they swept at the time, which was a top 10 Louisville team. Yeah. So to think that the Tigers don't have enough talent to play is kind of, might be kind of selling them short. Now, I know people are going to come at me with they got swept at Georgia Tech. If you watched any of those games, though, they were close. Winning on the road in any conference is not easy. Not easy at all. 803-978-1832. Jimmy brings up a cool comment. What about the Japan Olympics banning protests during playing of the anthems? I'm of the opinion that I don't think you should protest during the national anthem, but I'm also in the camp of as far as being an American, you can do whatever you want because you have your freedom of speech. I don't have to like what you're doing. Okay. But in reality, I don't like, I think that if you have the ability to do that, and that's something that has been given to us by our forefathers. So it's hard for me to sit here and I have the right to tell you that I think that you're stupid for doing it, but you have the right to be stupid is basically the way that I look at that. So as far as on the Olympic stage during the anthems, you know what? Olympians are generally they're not paid. It's not like people make a lot of money being an Olympian. But if you're one time that you get to shine is when they play your national anthem. If that's what you want to do with it, then that's kind of on you. Now, I wonder what the Japanese folks are going to do about it. Because that kind of rubs me the wrong way too. Wait a minute, let me make sure I understand something. The Japanese government is going to tell me as an American what I'm going to do on an Olympic field? No. No, that's not going to work out too well for you, sir. That's not going to work out too well at all. I understand that you have to have some sort of folks that keep things in order and all of that, but no, that's not going to work out well at all. What do you think about that, though? Because that's a very interesting thing there with what Jimmy said. The Japanese Olympics are banning protests during the playing of the anthems. Tom says it's sponsor money. Yeah, I can get that. That they do make the sponsor money. I give you that. But you know what? Once again, the company that has these people endorse their stuff, you get to determine whether or not you like their stance, and you have to do the if you don't like what they're doing, you're not going to buy it. Simple as that. Me personally, though, if I wanted an Olympic gold medal in something, you would have to fight me. I mean, literally fight me. If you're going to stand next to me and you're going to try to make some crazy comment or what have you, if we're on a team and they're bringing our flags in and they're playing our national anthem, no, we're going to fight. I'm not saying I'm going to win, but you're going to feel it. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call to join us here on the Rundown, right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400, around the world on the iHeart Radio app. Oh, man. One other thing that was out there this weekend was President Kaslan down at the university butchering a lot of things. The first being referring to the University of South Carolina as the University of California. And now it's coming out that maybe parts of his commencement speech were plagiarized. I'm not trying to rip on President Kaslan, but wow. Graduation time's supposed to be a great time, and it's not looking good at all down there with all that. Anyway, I don't want to talk politics today on the show. It's not really politics. You just, one of those things that it comes up in your social media feed and you go, huh? How did that happen? What is that all about? Back to baseball for one other quick note here. Tennessee announces that Lindsey Nelson Stadium will be open to 100% capacity for the series against number 1 Arkansas. Their Tuesday matchup against Tennessee Tech will be played with attendance restrictions still in place. But apparently, COVID-19 will come to you and possibly attack you in the Tennessee Tech series, but not when number 1 Arkansas comes to town. That makes it a COVID-free zone, ladies and gentlemen. COVID-free everywhere, as long as Tennessee Tech is not in the stands. Man, what? That's insane. It is a top 5 showdown with number 1 Arkansas going to Tennessee. And it'll probably be the most, I don't know where Arkansas is at, or if Arkansas's played at some of the Mississippi schools. I don't know about all that yet, but maybe one of the biggest series. It's going to be one of the most highly ranked series of the weekend, but as far as the amount of attendance. But don't worry, COVID-19 will not come to Knoxville once Arkansas is there. Tennessee Tech, not so much. Not so much. Alan says only in Knox Vegas. The McDonald's will be overflowing with people up there in Knoxville all around the stadium. Tom says no chance LeBron doesn't go to Japan and actually just do his job, though. I don't know what LeBron James is going to do. He can't keep himself healthy. And by the way, the Lakers, they may not even, I mean, they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to get into the little play-in series. My whole thing with that is that I hope they get knocked off, just because I'm tired of the whole, oh, well, we're putting together a super team. How's that looking out for you, LeBron? How's that looking out for you? You can sit at home. That would make me happy. Absolutely happy. Yes, I am a Phoenix Suns fan. Yes, I know. More of the rundown. We come back. John Kosich joins us here in just a moment, right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. LeBron James is, God, he's a wuss. Yeah, Jackpot's struggling. Someone needs to. Deptula is. I'm not supposed to talk bad about other people that are on the radio, but Deptula is a clown. John, it's Rob. How are you, man? Good, man. All right, you about ready to knock this out? All right, buddy, hold on. Yeah, I see y'all are gonna get me saying something that I'm not supposed to say, and then like I'm not intimidated to walk into a room and he's there because he's not gonna say anything to me. I mean, that's just, most people that are as confrontational as he is, they generally will back down. And I'm not intimidated by him or the folks up there at WCCP. I'm not. Or the folks that are in Columbia at 107.5 The Game. They don't bother me either. But Homer radio in general bothers me. Hey, we're just going to talk about, we're just going to hope and pray that the hometown team loves us. Man, I can't do all that, man. Frustrating. There were some, yeah. I don't know. I don't want my boss mad at me. It's basically what it boils down to. Don't want my boss mad at me. I don't really have a problem with him. I just don't like Homer radio in general, Does that make sense, Tom? I just don't like the Homer radio, we are the home for insert school here. Ugh, can't do all that, man. Just be independent and talk about what you want to talk about. Generally, I can say whatever I want, but I just get the vibe that certain people, not necessarily some, would I've had people that I've said stuff about come back and talk to management about me ripping them on the show, which I don't need all that noise. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Out to the phones. The play-by-play voice of the Columbia Fireflies joins us. John Kostas, what is up, my friend?
Hey, man, I'm just getting all excited. We're getting down to the wire. We're 28 hours away from first pitch of the first home game at Segra Park in 620 days.
Yeah, it's a kind of a jacked up feeling there, I'm sure, for you. Give us a quick synopsis here really quick on what happened to the Fireflies the first couple of for the first set of games this series, all of them against Augusta, right?
Yeah, that first 6-game series was against the Low A East Braves affiliate, and the Fireflies split the series, which if you ask any old school baseball guy, what they're going to tell you is if you split every series on the road and you can win the series at home, you're going to be in for a good season. The bullpen was absolutely incredible for the Fireflies throughout. They had an ERA of about 3, and they pitched 36 innings across those 6 games. They had 1 or 2 games where they had to really fill up quite a bit of the pitching, and that's because the starters are so young, so a lot of their pitch counts are pretty low. But the bats were working too. Jake Means hit his first home run of the season yesterday. So did Brady McConnell. Means had a 3-hit game as well. So everything's starting to fall into place for this team. Even though they're young and they're raw, you can certainly see their talent already.
All right, well, the first home series starts tomorrow. Who's coming to town, and who starts tomorrow night?
Tomorrow it's the Charleston River Dogs who are coming to town.
Are they still a Yankees affiliate?
So they are not a Yankees affiliate. They're now a Tampa Bay Rays affiliate.
Okay,
right? They're a little bit more likable, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, so they're coming to town for a 6-game series, and for the Fireflies, we're going to see Delvin Capion again. He pitched in the second game for the Fireflies against Augusta. He did a really good job coming in relief. The Fireflies are doing something interesting this year. The Royals have 16 pitchers on the roster, and 10 of them are technically starter pitchers. They're doing something called piggybacking, something that's popular in minor league baseball, but the Mets didn't do it. So Fireflies fans aren't going to be super familiar with it, but it's basically you throw one starter, and the goal is for that starter to go 4 innings. And you throw a reliever for an inning, and then a second starter will then pitch the remaining 4 innings if everything goes well. So he pitched 4 innings in relief and allowed 1 or 2 runs the last time he pitched.
All right, so good stuff. And tell us about the opening night promotions and stuff that you guys have got going on with the Fireflies.
Well, everyone who comes into the gates is going to get a 2021 magnet schedule giveaway. I know that's a real popular one, right? It's real nice to be able to throw it on the fridge, hold up a drawing that your kid made, or someone's wedding invitation that they're sending you, and then you can see your Fireflies schedule. But it's also Miller Lite $2 Tuesday, so that means all fans can buy $2 hot dogs, popcorn, fountain soda, and then 12-ounce Miller Lite cans. Miller Lite portion of that's new, so it's almost like getting to start Thursday a little bit early.
There you go. Looking forward to tomorrow night's games, and of course, keeping up with the Fireflies as we finally get back. We've talked so much about COVID-19 and how it's affected the sports world, but haven't had a Fireflies game in a long, long time here in Columbia. We're going to break that seal tomorrow night with what is considered one of the best minor league parks in the country, and I'm jacked up about it.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Like I was saying earlier, 620 days, is way too long without a game day, and I'm happy that we'll be able to invite a bunch of people from Columbia in, and hopefully everyone can have a great time and watch a Fireflies W.
Well, and by the way, something for your game notes tomorrow. I mean, we've talked about Fireflies that have made it to the major leagues. There's a former Firefly that may be playing in the NFL next season. I mean, that doesn't happen at all. In fact, I think that will be the first time that that's happened where a guy played, especially for here in Columbia, and then has made it to the NFL after playing some minor league ball. So kind of a big deal with Tim Tebow doing his thing, right?
Right. Him getting signed by Jacksonville is huge, and I'm going to have to look it up because I don't know it off the top of my head. I remember I was talking with one of our front office workers just about a week ago,
right?
And we were kind of talking about the Tebow thing, and I remember I can't remember if it was the guy played in the NFL first and then went here, and it wasn't Tim Tebow. It was a second person. But I believe there's one other person that played minor league baseball and then got signed to a practice squad. Now, I'm guessing Tebow's not going to be a practice squad guy. If nothing else, he's a draw for the Jaguars. So I'll keep you posted. Maybe I'll shoot you a text or an email, and you can talk about it later.
You can be our Fireflies consultant on that, man. And, of course, make sure you head out and catch the Fireflies game tomorrow night as we reopen the ballpark here in Columbia. It's going to be great. Hey, John, thanks for joining us today, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Rob. I'll chat with you soon.
All right, there you go. I'm jacked up about the minor league baseball returning here to Columbia. It's kind of like giving the finger to the pandemic. We're going to have our baseball. That's what we think of you. I know I was goofing earlier about in Knoxville where apparently they're getting rid of COVID after Tuesday night. Attendance restrictions in place at Tennessee for the Tennessee Tech game. But when Arkansas gets here on the weekend, oh no. COVID will be gone. Well, that's silly. All right, so if you want to talk about Tim Tebow, that's great. I've also got something else too. Mark Richt describes post-NIL CFB atmosphere as it's going to be money girls football school. I wonder what that means. We'll talk about that when we come back. Also, if you want to talk about I've got another thing with Alabama with their sports betting bill. We'll do this before we go to break. They're basically in the home stretch here with Alabama as far as their legislative session. But legislation SB 319 would allow casino-style gaming and sports wagering operating at sites in Jefferson, Mobile, Macon, Greene, Houston, Jackson, or DeKalb County. They're having some issues with it. But our state, let's make sure we put that out there first. Our state was one of the first to basically get a law that was actually brought to the floor, but it was just not really voted on because apparently it was us in New Jersey. New Jersey's made millions and millions and millions of dollars off of other people that don't live in the state. But we can't have sports betting here in South Carolina because there are certain people that have very highly elected offices that think, oh, South Carolinians don't want to bet. Are you crazy? They don't want to bet. No, they don't want to do that. One of the things that we need to do as a state is to lean on your elected representatives to knock that out. Because people bet on sports. They do. You might as well tax them for it. It's not rocket science. All right, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call. If you'd want to join us here on the rundown this afternoon, quick break. We'll come back in just a moment right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Tom, you normally say silly things, but you're right. If college athletes are going to get paid, they should be required to pay full tuition. I kind of agree with you on that. And by the way, people that, and I've said this before, I think that the thing that gets me is that they can use your likeness even after you're gone. So like if you go down to the bookstore at South Carolina, you can buy a Jadeveon Clowney jersey. He doesn't get any money for that. His likeness after he's gone, they're still using and profiting from. Now, I don't think that that's completely right. But the people that say, oh, well, college tuition isn't enough, those are people that don't have student loans. Seriously. Those are people that don't have student loans. And it bothers me because I went into the military to make sure that I didn't have student loans. But you could still buy a Clowney. You buy one with Clowney's name on it. Just saying. You can buy them down there. Anyway, also Clowney's picture is like big up there in the down at Williams-Brice. They've got the big picture thing of him up there you can see from the street. So anyway, there's that. But I went into the military so I wouldn't have to pay student loans, not knowing that I would marry a wife that wants to have all this postgraduate stuff, and I'm still paying student loans. College is expensive. Insane. Insane. Hey, I didn't know this. According to this report, colleges in Alabama may forbid their players to cut deals with alcohol companies. So, holy crap, that's terrible. What a mess. I kind of like what Mark Rick said. And it keeps getting more expensive. It does, man. It's insane. That's funny. Tennessee's you can't McDonald's can't you can't get a McDonald's endorsement. That is a savage move right there, friend. Savage move. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Mark Rick describes a post-NIL CFB atmosphere as a little bit different than when he was in college. Basically, what's happening is that in some states, they're doing the NIL, and you can you can use your likeness to make some money. Let's take a quick phone call here before we get out of here today. Welcome into the Rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Good. What's up?
Man, I want to say, we love listening to your show every day. You keep it real.
I'm trying.
Keep it real.
All right.
And we love listening to your show with Carolina Jackpot as well.
Yeah, man.
Keep it going. We love it.
Oh, well, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you for all you do, man. Appreciate it.
All right, there we go. It's nice to have people that like the show to call. Anyway, back to what Mark Rick said, and I want to make sure I put this piece out there because I didn't know this. Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, New Mexico, all have laws are scheduled to go in effect July 1st. Here's the cool thing about this, though, when you read this. In Florida, for example, colleges will be required to conduct financial literacy workshops for student athletes. Colleges in Alabama may forbid their players to cut deals with alcohol companies because heaven forbid they're peddling the gin. You're going to peddle gin? No. You can't do that and wear that Alabama A, sir. We're not going to have that. And Georgia laws allow for an arrangement in which players can sometimes be compelled to share portions of their income with other athletes. Former Georgia and Miami coach Mark Richt described the monumental shift with this, quote, "When I was playing college football, my priorities were girls, football, and then school." He goes, now it's going to be money, girls, football, and school. I mean, okay, Coach Richt. I thought that was great. Yeah, I mean, money's going to go above the girls. All right. I wonder what else people are, if you can use your likeness, what you're not going to be able to set up as for an endorser. Just saying. I think that obviously any gambling sites, that's not going to happen. No DraftKings or whatever. I doubt that's going to happen. Alabama says no alcohol. Okay. Wonder what else we're going to have. Across the board, it's going to be interesting. This is the weirdest offseason in college football because you've got so much going on with the likeness rules. And in addition to that, you've got stuff like the transfer portal. And, the transfer portal was supposed to be one of those things where it was supposed to bite Alabama in the butt and bite a lot of other teams in the butt too. Teams that oversign, you end up signing 25 guys and or maybe you sign more than you're supposed to. And you end up putting all these guys on your roster. And some of them, they're just the numbers. They don't get a chance to play. And it was supposed to bite those teams in the butt that oversign. Yeah, well, Alabama just basically went to bat and got Henry Totos from Tennessee, one of the best linebackers in the transfer portal. Signed with Tennessee over 18 scholarship offers, including Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. There was talk he may transfer to Ohio State. The thought of this being like, okay, some of the schools that are not quite on the level of Alabama and Ohio State, the transfer portal is going to help them. You think that Toto would not have went to South Carolina and would have played from the start? And I'm not picking on the Gamecocks. I'm just saying, pick a school, South Carolina, Kentucky, Missouri, whatever. Any other team in the SEC that's not Auburn, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, or Florida. Okay? No, it was supposed to bite those teams in the butts. Not so much. Nick Saban's like, oh, I can play this game. Our linebacking core, we haven't really had the depth that I like. Why don't we go and get Tennessee's best player from last year? Make sure he burns all of his Tennessee underwear and all that hot dog stuff that they gave him up there. Make sure he doesn't come with his McDonald's bag full of money. Make sure there's no trace of that Tennessee stuff that's out there. Clear all of that out of the water, and you, sir, can come to the University of Alabama and possibly be a backup on our team, and maybe you can win a national championship. And, of course, Kids all over the world are jumping at it, including Toto. And this guy's from California. How do you feel if you are from California? You got this kid from California that's in the transfer portal, and he's not going to Southern Cal. He's not going to Cal or none of those teams. No. I'm going to go from Tennessee and be great there, even under a crummy coaching staff. And I'm going to leave and I'm going to go to Alabama. The thought of the transfer portal. I remember people saying, okay, this is going to help some schools. No, Alabama gets what they want. That's pretty much what it boils down to. If Nick Saban wants you to go to school there, it's really kind of hard to be like, I'm not going to play for Nick Saban. Or I'm not going to play for Dabo Swinney, or I'm not going to play for Ohio State, or even LSU, whatever. So I just thought that was interesting with Toto saying, yeah, I'm going to go from Tennessee to Alabama. Man, there are some angry folks about that. Huffer Billy Paul says he should be going to Oregon. Allen says Henry T is going to be a sub at Bama. Yes. Because, I'm sure they've got all these other players at Alabama. They don't recruit anything but 4- and 5-star guys. I'm not knocking Alabama for that. But when they went through this whole thing with him, he's going there knowing he's going to be a backup. So I guess being a backup at Alabama is better than being a starter at other schools, at least in the eyes of Henry Toto, because he would have started just about anywhere else. It's kind of the way that it rolls. By the way, tomorrow on the program, we'll preview the South Carolina Clemson baseball game, which is big, which is a big series, a big way to finish the series. The Gamecocks have already won the series. Can Clemson salvage a game? We'll talk about that tomorrow. And 247 Sports rated the new coaching hires and how they've done after spring practice. So I got to give you these tomorrow, but I'm going to tell you this up front, and you can marinate on this when we come back to you in 23 hours. The lowest graded coach that they graded was Shane Beamer from South Carolina. When I read this last night, I literally was like, what in the blue hell is this? What are they watching? Obviously, they don't have a correspondent here in Columbia that's seen what's going on from different perspectives. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Yes, I did say marinate. Think about. Jerome's like, where was this written? The 247 Sports site. I will send it to you, sir. Follow me on Twitter at RobSoundsGood. Message me, and I'll make sure you get it. The lowest rated coach was Shane Beamer. We'll talk about that tomorrow. All right. Thanks to everybody checking out the show. Podcast will be up at 5 o'clock. Don't forget, my buddy Lawton Swan is next. Yes, don't forget Lawton.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
He's here with Clemson Sports Talk to take you home. I'm on Twitter at RobSoundsGood. Podcast up at 5 o'clock. We'll be back at it tomorrow on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Jerome, I will send it to you. You're friends with me on Facebook, right? Just friend me on Facebook and I'll send it to you. I just say Twitter because Twitter's easier. But they gave him the lowest rating. He got a lower rating than Heupel. He got a lower rating than Bert Belima, or however the hell you pronounce his name. I was absolutely stunned. And you guys know, I'm not gonna blow smoke up your butt with this, but he got the lowest rating from all of these other coaches. I read it to Jackpot. I got it like right after the show went off the air. I had to listen to Jackpot rant and rave for 10 minutes while I was mixing up the podcast last night. He was that bad. He was mad. It was really funny. All right, you guys are awesome. I'll see you tomorrow.